Bada bang, bada boom. We are live from my apartment here in Indianapolis, Indiana. You know what time it is? Behind the scenes look, the YouTube version of the podcast. Let's get things going, gang. Hello and welcome to episode number 2 of the Chris Seibert Show. And not so much episode 2, but week 2. This is slowly becoming seriously my favorite thing. And I don't know too, maybe if it's just because it's so fresh and it's just something new that I've been doing to add to this channel, and not so much my YouTube channel, but also the Apple Podcast app, the Spotify app. It's just fun to, be unique and be different, adding different things, trying different hobbies, doing things and seeing what doesn't work. But yeah, it's exciting to do this. I look at this kind of as just my town hall quarterly report. When I got hired into working for a corporate company, we do every single week a briefing on Monday, and now we've been doing it obviously through a conference call, like a Zoom or a Skype meeting. But it's just cool to see what's new this week, what we got going on, and a lot like this podcast series. Even though I only upload once a week, I hope for you guys it's cool just to kind of see what's new, what's happening. And if this is your first episode, I should say too, just as a friendly reminder, this exact same episode or podcast is on my YouTube channel in person, a recording of me doing this. So yeah, and as you can see, I've added a plant this week. This is my new friend. I've heard it's called a spider plant or some form of plant. I'm not a plant person, but I was given it by a friend, and she said that it was a spider plant, I think. So just because of whatever. So no, I am super excited, and I will walk you through it, and I'll continue doing this just at least for the next few episodes. That way people who are new can understand what's really happening, so that way they don't have to go and listen to the introduction. And of course, every single week will be different, obviously, because it's a whole new thing. So we'll take it from the top. Obviously, I want to thank you guys, and I refer back usually the first couple minutes of the previous week. So last week, for week number 1, after the introduction episode, we ended up having 2 total downloads and then 7 total video views on YouTube. And from those 7 views, we had an average retention time of 8 minutes and 29 seconds, which ended up being, out of those 7 viewers, 28.5% of you stayed that long, and some stayed longer. So I don't know if you could have heard that or not, and if you did, I'm super sorry, because I just had some Mountain Dew. It's probably why I'm so energized. But thank you, and that number may surprise you. It may not. But again, it's just the cool fact that 9 people, it could have been this out of the 7, 2 ended up downloading it. It's awesome, and I really appreciate that, because it takes time to do this kind of stuff, and I hope it's providing at least some sort of value, or at least you're enjoying it in some sort of aspect. So that's really important to me, and I hope that you feel that way. So there's that. Next up, though, I normally go in categories, and I'll just kind of give you a brief overview before I dive into that particular category. The first one is pretty much just a weekly update about my personal life. Anything that's interesting that I like to share. This can just be YouTube stuff, my life, business developments, anything really going on, so you guys out there who may not talk to me on a frequent basis will at least know what's happened this week and if I have anything new for you. We ended up live streaming at work this week for the first time through YouTube, which was just awesome. We have an ATEM Blackmagic Design Studio Pro switcher. We have this awesome mixer for sound. We have a monitor now, and we just got in a new MacBook that's so much more powerful and nicer than mine. But we're able to use the switcher and HDMI cameras, like the camera I'm recording on, a Sony a7R III. We have another Sony a7R III as well in the office. So it's cool just to kind of broadcast this stuff. But with that being said, where I'm getting at, I ended up getting handed the credentials to our corporate US YouTube channel. And to me, it's just everything I could ever want, because this channel has 48,400 plus subscribers, and the video views, the analytical data, being able to operate this beast from behind the scenes, both commenting back to people, applying tags, description. What I do with my YouTube channel, it's nowhere near this. And just to put it in perspective, in the last 28 days, we've had over 250,000 views, not to mention I think it was 1,000 plus subscribers in the last couple weeks, or probably the same 28 days. I can't really remember now at this point in time the exact amount of how much we've grown and when, but it's just cool to see this major powerhouse and be able to look inside of it as it's happening real time, because I don't have anywhere near that sub counter views yet. So it's just been super fun and exciting to see that, and I just thought I would share that with you guys. It's super, super cool. Something that happened within the last week and even up to Tuesday, I had two different individuals reach out to me. And the first one, just to clarify, I'm going to kind of keep names and stuff. I will shout out another individual. I will shout out one in particular, but I want to keep this other person under wrap for the time being. But this gentleman reached out to me about doing a series involving motivation and stuff like that, and me being featured in this video series with different kind of videos of me recording myself, and he's going to be the one that's in charge of editing it and uploading it on his particular channel. But it's just so cool. I'm so excited for this project. It seems like a great idea, and it sounds like a great idea, and I'm so happy to be a part of it. But I will be bringing that up more as I get more information and that gets pushed out. But another individual, Josh, which I will shout him out now because the video link will be in the description. But this week I went to go visit with him, and I've been working with him and his wife pretty closely these last couple months, doing some behind the scenes work, and we just got our name and the team that we are with and involved in and continue to keep growing. But we're pretty soon going to be creating all these different social media accounts and begin to upload the skits that we've been working on. Again, a lot of it's hush hush, but once that becomes more out and open, I will definitely be announcing the particular stuff, talking about it and all that. But no, Tuesday, Josh reached out to me and he created his first vlog, and he asked if I wanted to be a part of it. And again, it's just cool to be networking and doing things like this. And for me personally, I just couldn't be any more thankful and happy to be involved with this kind of stuff. And it's so cool, to have both of them who both watch my content regularly, from what it sounds like, and reach out to me asking if I'm wanting to work with them. It's so cool. So major shout out to the both of you. And Josh's video link will be in the description. And again, the other individual, once this series is up and live, I will begin to discuss who that is and also share that video series stuff with you guys. So that was another big thing. Feeding off of that whole aspect of what we just talked about, to going back to Welcome to My Weekends, this past episode, I did not film a lot of content this past weekend because there really wasn't too much to film, and that's a pretty, I would say, half-ass or not really a good excuse. But referring to this week, after last week with all the talking of back and forth with both gentlemen, I really am going to take this Welcome to My Weekend serious. I'm going to pretty much most of the time be using my Sony a7R III that I have that's also filming this video, and really create a piece of art and something better. I'm going to incorporate into this weekend doing a crock pot recipe. I'm also going to try to do some different cinematic shots and stuff like that. Having both of the individuals this past week reach out to me, I want to step up my game. I need to do a lot more, because what I've been doing is essentially just filming stuff with my iPhone, putting it together, and doing all sorts of other stuff. But I haven't really been spending time making just great content, if that makes any sense. A lot of it's kind of just been going through the motions, getting it out there and uploading it. But I really need to start testing myself and learning more and getting better with my equipment than just getting by and posting stuff. So this weekend in particular, I am probably going to be putting that video on blast, both through Snapchat, Twitter, you name it, it's going on there, because the last seems like few weeks I haven't really been posting anything, both even on my private Instagram account, which I've just been doing a horrible job at as well. But I want to start bumping up the content. It's at the point in time now to where it's pretty level. I need to start changing things up a little bit and getting better with my gear. So I am going to go all out this weekend, and I just think that both of you who reached out to me in the past week to even give me a bigger and harder push to make even better content, because that's what we're going for now. So another thing that happened this week, and I should bring up that yesterday during my How's Your Week Going, Grab a Drink and Let's Talk, my Wednesday live stream, I've had a lot of really crazy internet issues the past few days, I've noticed, and it's really unfortunate. It's been hard to work from home, and it was just like yesterday evening, late at night, I was watching a Hulu series, and for some reason, the show kept crashing because the internet would just stop working. But I want to say that was a major part of why my live stream was terrible for the first 10 minutes. I ended up just stop live streaming all in general and delete it. But the computer has not been really good to me either. So I'm assuming and thinking that probably here in about another 3 weeks, potentially 4 weeks, hopefully 3, I'm going to order the custom PC parts and equipment and begin the process of putting that together. Again, throughout this whole process, I just try to live so cheap, and the money I do have that I'm not afraid to blow, it's usually going into the stock market. So I'm going to need to take just a little break from buying stuff and actually buy something that's really going to help me and improve this channel. So again, I will continue to keep updating you with that, guys, every single week as we continue to push out the Chris Seibert Show. But yes, I am seriously going to be buying this custom PC very soon. The last thing I want to talk about in this weekly update segment is that Saturday evening, I had some drinks and I ended up downloading Hinge. Okay, so I'm not using this podcast series to talk about my dating life nor ever bring up anybody's names, but I'm bringing up this specifically today in this week's episode because the thing about Hinge and about my past experience in my life is on Hinge, I have in one of my segments talking about how I make YouTube videos and I also create podcasts. So the reason why I bring that up is because in the past, I've always just been so self-conscious, really insecure and scared to like let people know that I do that, even though there's nothing wrong with that. But it's just something that I've really struggled with. Like, I don't want people to think of me any less. And I know that sounds so weird and maybe doesn't make sense to a lot of people. But for me personally, it's just like, I don't know, if I suffer from something or what, but it's just always been a mental game for me that I don't want to like stick out or just be odd or like, I don't know. Being older and now and being in the mental state where I'm at currently, I am like the most happiest, the most passionate, the most excited about the future than what I've ever been. And doing this on a dating app just to kind of like throw it out there because like, I expect my future partner to know that I will be involved still doing stuff like this, obviously, and that I need them to be comfortable with that. And surprisingly, from the matches and people who I've talked to, they've been like super cool. A lot of them asked about it, the names of stuff. So it's just been super cool to see the amount of support and return from essentially just really being myself, which is a great thing and just something that I want to say out there to you. That if you enjoy something, if you're doing something, if you're self-conscious too or struggle mentally because you don't want to be that person, just be yourself because, people are going to support you no matter what. And a lot of times I got to reevaluate and think that when I'm just struggling or having an off day. So again, I wanted to bring that up really quick and just share that story. And I'm proud of myself and I think it's awesome. And it's really, really cool to see the amount of feedback and great comments I've gotten back from that. So that pretty much wraps up my personal life and a weekly update in the last 7 days for you guys. There's no new business developments at all. I haven't been doing anything side related outside of work. I've been still strictly busy with work, and there's a whole lot of chaos going on, it seems like, outside these walls. So just doing my day-to-day and getting by. Up next in another segment we talk about before I start breaking into it is the stock market. Now, if you really want to know about a more in depth of like these companies and what I own, you can go back to week 1. And there's going to be certain times where things pop up, and I'm sure I share a lot more information about them. But just kind of a quick overview. I've loved the stock market. I've I would say essentially probably since high school when my father introduced it to me. I've been a really big fan, but back then I didn't really have the amount of income to really take it seriously or invest, and I got more serious in college. I also lost a lot of money in college because of that, but I was very uneducated and I was very impatient and I was extremely risky, which caused a lot of the loss. But since then now, and I have a great job, I have more free income and passive income, no debt. I'm able to be risky again with my money. So a lot of it's just buying companies that I'm fond of and enjoy and like, and just holding it for the long run and not trading them. Essentially, everything is the same from last week, to be completely honest. I still own 2,000 shares of Blnk, 900 shares of MFA, 63 shares of SPHD. However, this week, I ended up buying an additional 15 shares of MITT, bringing my share count total now to 260, and then 3 additional shares of EPR, increasing my total to 97. And if I said 260 of MITT, I meant 275 since I added, because 260 was last week, and now it's currently 275. But yeah, no, the long term for me personally is just living below my means and investing in what I can, and of course just waiting it out, the long game. Most of the companies, or I guess all of them that I own shares in, excluding Blnk, have dividends, and I believe out of all of those 4 that do have dividends, one's still paying out dividends. However, the other 3 have halted for the time being and stopped. But in the long run, I'm going to continue to keep adding and investing in companies, hopefully that pay out dividends, which I continue to keep researching. And I'll use those dividends to reinvest back into those stocks or different stocks and continue to just compound and increase my stock market portfolio and wealth. So again, nothing really too crazy to update this week in terms of the stock market. But again, if this interests you, as always, feel free to reach out in the podcast series. If you're listening and want me to talk more about that, I'm more than happy. And I don't think I've ever really brought that up, but if you are listening to this through the either Apple Podcast app or Spotify, watching this on the YouTube video, have a question, feel free to comment it below and I can bring it up in the following week episode. And then over time, if there starts becoming a lot of comments, maybe I drag these podcasts out and have the Q&A session after I get done discussing everything and going through the questions. So yep, that's it for that the stock market segment. The next segment we really have is news. And in terms of news, a lot of it, I'm just kind of basing it around, I feel like, what's super important, global news, any big market news, anything that can involve the economy, stuff that I just kind of find really important. And I have 2 notes, or I guess topics I want to discuss in this week, week number 2 on the Chris Seibert Show. The first one being that, again, today we had another job report or jobs claim, and another 2.4 million Americans unfortunately lost their jobs, bringing the total amount to, I would say, I think 38 or even potentially 39 million Americans now without jobs. Last week it was 2.9, this week it was 2.4, and I'm just hoping, fingers crossed. Last week, I think it was 2.9 million. So hopefully, it gets to a point here in the next couple weeks where we don't really start seeing job loss. We see more or less job growth as the country continues to open up. It seems like more and more by the day or week. But it's just really unfortunate because even today I saw a notification that there's 200 Victoria's Secret stores and 50 Bath and Body locations that are permanently closing, along with JCPenny in late last week that they filed for bankruptcy and they're going to close nearly 30% of their stores. So in just a matter of months, this whole, coronavirus has really just shifted the economy completely and entirely, where more and more retail is going to online pretty much only, and more people who end up working in retail are losing their jobs and potentially won't get a job back and will have to find a different job. So it's just, I don't know, it's a scary thought and it breaks my heart, and I just can't help but feel for the people out there. And again, I think it's important to bring up, if you're young like me out there listening, or anybody who's really listening, just to be financially, smart and really think about before you really buy things or invest in things, because you just never know what can happen. And I just hope the many out there, millions of Americans, are financially okay and going to be okay at least for a little bit longer. I know that we have another bill, I think, that's now at the Senate for another stimulus check, but even that stimulus check will go quick if you have a family and have bills to pay. So again, I wanted to bring awareness to that, and it's just shocking. It's really mind-blowing, honestly. The last part of the news I want to bring up, and something that just completely blew my mind this week, was that Joe Rogan and Spotify have reached an agreement for more than 100, or I would say probably it's even more. I don't know if there's an exact amount, but more than $100 million rights for his show. I guess Spotify came to Joe, they reached a contract and an agreement to pretty much have all of Joe's content exclusively to Spotify. Now, I did do a little bit of digging, and I'm pretty sure that he will still have some minor clips or a few clips from each episode on YouTube, but as a whole, the whole show, I think, will eventually be just on Spotify, both the video and audio version. And I want to say that the show will remain where it's at now and through the rest of the year, but starting at the end of the year, everything will be moved to Spotify. But for those of you that don't know, again, after doing some more digging, I read that Joe, I guess, has been having his podcast show for over 11 years now. And it just goes to show, that like patience, consistency, growing a following, just finding something you enjoy doing. You don't know really what the future holds for you, but as long as you stay consistent, continue to keep working hard, and really just have fun with it, you will see some sort of gain in the long run, whether it be a following, whether it be some type of dollar amount that you're hoping for, whether it be some type of business venture or something. I mean, we really don't know what the future could ever truly hold, but for those of you out there that, are grinding and hustling and staying consistent and going after what you want, I would be more than willing to admit or say that you're going to get what you want. It's just about putting in the work. And I could not be any more happier for Joe Rogan. He is literally like the biggest podcast person that I know of. Anytime somebody brings up a podcast series or something, always the first person that comes to mind is the Joe Rogan podcast, and he has just a massive following. And it's cool to see that after 11 years of straight grinding and uploading a lot and interviewing a lot of interesting people and posting that online, that he reached a dollar amount that big. And I think he's also said too that Spotify, he's not an employee now, they don't own him, he just has his show on Spotify and he's still kind of running it with the same people. So it's just a win-win and super cool, and just another good motivating factor to just keep working hard, and you never know what could happen. So good for Joe. And then, of course, this is pretty much essentially our last segment of the podcast show, or the Chris Seibert Show, and that's essentially just my weekly challenge. Last week was my first weekly challenge, and I ended up doing 5 decline push-ups and 15 sit-ups. So for those of you out there that follow my YouTube, Instagram, The Christopher Seibert, I know that some people watch some of the stories. I wasn't checking it every day, but there was some people that ended up watching it. I don't know the overall outcome, but hopefully I can see how it can kind of be annoying. I'm not asking people to participate, but maybe you ended up doing some type of exercise, or maybe you saw that and it was just like, oh, okay, like maybe I should do some sort of exercise too, or good for you or whatnot. I'm not really sure, but a major part of it is really just making sure that my Instagram stays active, making sure that I have something to post or do to make sure that I'm not ghosting you or it's just a dead account. And also it's really just about forming habits and doing stuff that's healthy or fun, and just to really challenge myself and be active. And it's just a good feeling of getting something accomplished, knowing that you did something during your day. So if you do end up following me on my YouTube, Instagram, The Christopher Seibert, and you see a story of mine, just know that it's probably me doing the weekly challenge. And again, if you're like, I bet you don't do it this week, feel free to follow me because that'd be awesome, and see every day, or end up seeing every day if I end up doing the challenge or not. But This week in particular, and I already did the final 5 decline push-ups and 15 sit-ups on today's story. But starting tomorrow, I will be doing 15 air squats and then 10 seconds of touching my toes. So that will be what you will see for the next 7 days on the Christopher Seibert, my Instagram story. And I got this idea from Off-Brand Comedians Motivation Monday. I worked really closely with Bryce and Cody, my good friends up in South Bend. For a while, we were having a live stream on Monday evenings just talking about motivation, and I stole the whole challenge thing from that into this. But overall, that's essentially going to be a good, or I guess a wrap-up for week number 2. Don't forget that if this is the first time you're actually watching this, or I guess listening to this technically, there is a video version. It's on my YouTube, Christopher Seibert. Feel free to check that out. So you can see what I look like as well as my other content. And for those of you out there that are maybe watching this in the video format and aren't able to watch it, or in the future, you might not be able to watch it on a particular Friday or whenever you decide to watch it. It's on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, so feel free to just have those downloaded or subscribed. So if you can't watch my content, they're always there. It's free, doesn't cost anything, so there's that as well. But overall, as an outlook for this coming week, I'm super excited for starting this weekend. It's Memorial Day weekend coming up, so happy Memorial Day weekend, everybody. But just really testing myself and making some stellar content and just going all out and seeing what really happens and challenging myself. That's going to be the big push and kick. It might turn out so good and I might be so excited about it that I end up tossing my whole iPhone idea and just start sticking to using the work camera until I buy a different camera. We're just gonna test it out and really see. But I'm excited to challenge myself and see what I can put together for Welcome to My Weekend. So, guys, thank you so much for watching and or listening, depending on what media platform you decided to go, which route. But again, I hope everyone's staying safe, being smart out there. And again, I just cannot tell you how much I support all of you for taking the time to watch this, listen to this. It does take time, but it's something I'm willing to work towards and keep striving to do. And just, again, being as consistent as possible, because this is fun for me and I hope for you guys. You know, it's making you think, maybe motivating you, maybe pushing you to get out and do something, find a new hobby, find a way to make money, do something other than just working and living a day-to-day. So with that being said, I'm going to end it here. As always, thanks again, and I will see you guys Monday with the awesome new Welcome to My Weekends. See you, everybody.